Don't even try to go back and say Jesus was Goda. Products that are marketed like testosterone boosting, alpha brain, because you want to be a
Thomas
alpha.
and Doug Flutie on those commercials playing golf.
Oh, Kenan Thompson, let's go.
Sick.
On sports talk radio too. That's like every other commercial is how to boost your testosterone.
This can really make you feel super insecure with all the different things that you see coming at you. There's a lot of beautiful images coming your way in the course of a day, and you might kind of sometimes feel left out of that. Like, I don't look like that guy. I don't have what that person has. Like, I don't have this, I don't have that.
Comparing yourself to other people can actually be really beneficial. I think that's something, as I've thought about it, it's like that is actually something that's very easy for me to say and us to say, because we haven't always been comparing ourselves to the world, because we didn't always have the ability to compare ourselves to the world.
I would say as a man, if you're insecure, there's two main places that my brain goes to. One would be learn how to fight. And number two, and not even necessarily in this order, would be like build a body that's like a little more durable.
The theme that I think we all have here is we're always learning more. When we have new guests that come onto the podcast, we're genuinely curious about the knowledge that they have about what they're doing.
And if you have trauma, just like we've talked about with the myofascial stuff, if you don't work that shit that's sitting in your shoulder from you messing up or you taking a real heavy bench press one day, if you don't work that shit out and you don't use a lacrosse ball in there, you can stretch and you can do all these things, and it most likely won't really get better. That'll be sitting there forever. If you have these traumas from when you're young and you never dealt with them before, every time you go out, every time you go to a party, you're gonna be like, I need a drink because I have social anxiety. You might not have social anxiety. You might have traumas from when you're young that you just never fucking talked about.
Power Project family, how's it going? You guys probably have watched a lot of Mark's lifting videos and some of my lifting videos, and you've probably noticed that our shorts never go past our knees.
Nope.
There's a reason for that. Y'all got to show those quads off, baby. And the shorts that we're always wearing are from a company called Vuori. That's spelled V-U-O-R-I. But Vuori has amazing clothes for the gym that we wear, but also outside the gym. So you can wear them to dinner parties, dates, gatherings, all that good stuff. But all their clothes fit well, fit amazing. This is a shirt from Vuori, by the way. Look at that shoulder. Just look at this. Look at it fits so well for people in fitness. And even if you're not, just check them out. Andrew, how did they get it?
Yeah, clothes that look good inside and outside of the gym and work just as well inside and outside of the gym. Head over to vuori.com/powerproject. That's VUORI.com/powerproject to receive 20% off your first order. Links to them down in the description as well as the podcast show notes.
So yeah, Eric the trainer, he issued this 50,000 push-up challenge thing to me.
Dude, that's a lot.
I know, and it's in an effort to raise some money. I believe he's raising money for a martial arts Hall of Fame, which is already exists. It's down the street from his studio where he trains people out of in Burbank, but it's 2,000 square feet. It's kind of a smaller spot, and they're looking to have it be legit. They want to have a bigger space to represent martial arts, because martial arts means so much to so many people. So he's got this whole campaign going with Chef Rush and a bunch of other people. And he's like, hey, you want to do 50,000 push-ups with me? I'm kind of like, no.
That's a lot.
It just seems really brutal. But at the same time, I'm like, I've been implementing more push-ups recently, and I would love to have some goals with some push-ups. So yeah, I guess I'm fucking in, And so I'm going to do this 50,000 push-ups. I think it's 50,000 push-ups in a month.
Okay.
Something like that. And of course, Chef Rush is going to do it in 10 days because he does 2,200 a day or whatever it was.
Dude, even with him doing his 2,200, you'll have to do somewhere in the realm of
you got to do 1,000 a day. I think it was. I forget what the. Maybe it's for 50 days. Maybe it's. That's what it is. I think it's 1,000 push-ups for 50 days.
Man,
all right.
It's a lot of fucking push-ups.
Yeah.
But I wonder, if you pick it off, maybe it's not as bad, but I don't know, it's still a lot, right?
how many sets of 10?
10 sets of 10 sets of 100 every day.
Okay.
Or you could break it into 20 sets of 50 or some shit like that. You know what I mean?
20 sets of 50
every day.
I can't really I don't like the word can't, but like it's difficult. Like 30 is really manageable for me. I could do 60 at a time or something like that. And at one time I worked my way up to about 80 push-ups before in a row. But like I'm just thinking like I can manage 25 to 30 pretty easily. So I'll have to stick with something. You know what I mean? Like I don't want these to be like all-out efforts that kill me. So 20 would be probably a good number to sit at. So I need to do how many sets of 20?
30. Well, it'd be 33 sets of 30 for 20.
Can you pull the mic closer?
Okay, one second.
33 sets of 30.
It would be 33 sets of 30 a day.
That'd be probably a little too challenging too, I think.
Yeah.
Because after a while, I think you know what I mean? Like at the end of the day, I wonder if like over the course of 5 days, if I get used to it a little bit more.
Do 50 sets of 20 a day.
Yeah, 50 sets of 20. I think that would be probably the best way to do it.
So yeah, 24 hours. So every whoa, you're not going to be awake for that 24 hours. So the hours you're awake, okay.
Which is like, how many hours are you awake a day? 16 hours, 18 hours?
And you'll be here podcasting, so you have what, like 10 hours in the day to do it?
You can do it. You can do it 50 sets of 20 in 10 hours. So just
50 sets.
I like
of
the
20.
idea. You know, when I was
bad.
down with Liver King, like he actually like on day one, he's like, you know, whenever we eat, we usually like do push-ups or we do something before we walk or whatever. And so there was a couple times where I just called out push-ups. Like I did it before we went to shoot, and I did it before we went on his boat. Like we just did it, and it was actually kind of cool. It was kind of like we do with our walks. Like we'll do a podcast and then we'll walk. A lot of times, maybe some of the things that people don't see from us is that when we meet here every day, we're in the gym, we're doing like myofascial release type stuff, some of the MFR stuff, and some of us are jumping rope, some of us are doing whatever. We're getting in some exercise, even if it's only a couple minutes. And we're always getting in some exercise. Then we podcast, and then I think we feel like cooped up, and we don't really love like, you know, being in here for too long. Like we love being in here, but we don't like being in here and being still for too long. So then usually we're like, hey, let's walk. And then usually sometimes even when we come back from the walk, we're like, let's get a little lift in.
Yeah. One thing I'm so grateful for about even the way that we podcast is like, you know, there's going to be more stuff we're going to be adding to this studio, but the element of us standing and us standing with guests isn't going to change. And no matter in the future, if we do get another studio, things are going to stay standing because it's like having to sit, you know, and talk, but sitting, I fucking hate it. It may look cool or it may look good, but it's just not. It's not good
Andrew
for
Scholes
this.
look. He's got those legs bended up like fucking behind his head and shit.
Pants all the way behind his knees and shit. Yeah, exactly. It's but I mean, it's just not. It's not good.
I agree with you. I think that if we were sitting all the time, it would actually be it'd be really problematic. I think for my hips and my back.
Same.
Maybe even my knees. I don't know, but like I just know that. Sitting for a long time. Our guest the other day, Anya, that was her name, right? Anya's reviews, right?
Yeah, Anya,
yeah, Anya. She was. She mentioned how like you're when you're standing and doing other things during the day, how sitting is still like sitting with you, and I just thought like a really interesting way of wording it. But yeah, if you're sitting in an awkward position. I used to scold Smokey all the time about how he was sitting because he would like wrap his feet around the back of the chair.
Oh yeah.
And then his knees would be like way inward. And I'm like, dude, that's the exact way that you come up out of your squats when you really struggle with your squat. That's the exact way.
That's what he's coding.
Part of the reason why it's so hard for the guy to do like some sumo deadlifts and stuff like that, you know, he's fucking incredibly strong powerlifter. He does a great job. But I was like, we need to get you out of these positions more. And so one way for some people to manage some of that is just to not sit.
Absolutely.
Just to figure out a way to stand, maybe get in some squatting positions. I didn't realize, I was just looking on our YouTube channel this morning, and I didn't realize that Joel Green taught the ancestral squat when he came here a long time ago.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. Like it's just really neat, like how we have these things that kind of keep circulating. We have these things that if you go back far enough, you'll find them.
Kelly's been talking about the 10-minute squat. I think the first video I saw him talk about it was in 2013 or 2012, something
He's
like
been
that.
talking about that shit forever.
Yeah.
And when he first told me about like a 10-minute squat, I was like, you're out of your mind. That kills.
Fuck you.
I was like, that hurts so bad. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
And obviously it will hurt if you're not conditioned to it.
You'll get used to it. But, you know, the benefit also is like us standing here. I mean, people see it. We're fidgeting all the time. Like I'm standing on these WEC steps right now, and I'm just like fucking scraping the hell out of my ankles. And you think about it, if you had a computer in front of you, there are things that you could be doing to your body as you're at your computer working, still getting work done, but your body is, you're not, you know, making your hips super tight. Over time, your back pain isn't going to be nearly as bad, and over time, it's going to go away because you're using your body. I know we sound kind of crazy with this shit, but I mean, there's a reason why we're doing this stuff. Like we like to feel good.
Well, standing, you know, is something that you have to deal with too. I mean, you know, so you can sit in bad positions and end up with some bad results, or you can stand in bad positions and end up with some bad results, or you can work on trying to figure out a way to optimally stand or to optimally walk, and that's where we get into like,
Now you're becoming a psychopath.
well, now you're becoming a psychopath, and who the fuck knows the answers to this? Like, don't we need to go to our good Lord over here? Don't we need to ask him? Yeah.
What do we
How
do?
are we supposed to stand, bro?
Apparently like this.
And there's a lot of different people have a lot of different statements about how you stand and how you walk, but like I think the truth is that really no one knows. I think when it comes to sprinting, and jumping, there are people that have studied that. And there are people that will say, this is the way for you to move the fastest.
Yeah.
And they'll say like definitively that's what they learned. And there could be conjecture towards that, right? There's always going to be somebody to say, well, I think it actually works this way. Well, I think the strength actually comes from the spinal engine, or I think the strength is coming from the hands, or I think the strength is coming from the feet. Someone might say the strength is coming from the hips. So there's definitely like things that you can say within all that, but like how we walk, I think that someone could have a general statement about how you walk, and they could say, here's what I think. I don't think your head should be down. I think your spine should be neutral. I think that you should have a gait that's comfortable for you. But then like, you know, like if I'm trying to match your gait or Andrew's trying to match mine, like that's where we get into stuff that's like, well, maybe that's not great for you because maybe that hurts or maybe that pulls on something.
Having someone say you should walk like this is like one of the most annoying things you can absolutely hear. Because I get it. Because
you got weak glutes. Why are you walking like that? It's like, what the fuck does weak glutes? What are you talking about?
Because it's this thing that you're just doing all the time.
Yeah.
That you work yourself up from a baby to be able to learn to fucking walk, and you've been doing that. But when
offensive in a way.
It's offensive. Like the way you're walking is wrong. Like, bitch, the way I'm living is wrong now. Get the fuck out of here. But it makes so much sense because with modern lifestyle, with the way that we do sit way more than we did in the past, with our habits of looking down at phones, with less activity, with sitting for so long and having certain muscle groups just be inactive and tight, glutes, hip flexors, etc. The way we walk is affected, and it can, you know that with every single step you take, if you're now taking steps duck-footed, all those forces are being directed to different parts of your body, which now can cause pain. So you might need to change the way you walk.
Yeah, I don't know, just for funsies, pulled up earliest depictions of Jesus, and on this left image, his knee is definitely pointed in. So that looks like that's fairly Goda, you know.
Boys, don't even try to go back and say Jesus was Goda. Don't offend him.
But look,
His feet look like pointed out on that.
This one in the middle is fairly Woda.
Oh.
So we don't know. And then this one's a little bit a mix of the two.
His hips seem to be forward. He seems to be front chain dominant.
Is he though? Because look at this one. His hip is actually out. So I think he's in the back chain on this one. It's just they messed up on the
inside
on the
ankle bone low. He's gonna blow out his knee.
Oh, fuckers.
Yeah. So anyway,
he also looks quite brown in all three pictures.
Yep.
That's an error.
The paper just got really dirty.
Clearly, that's a mistake. We got to whitewash that off a little bit.
Paper just got dirty. Oh my god.
Let's see if we can tamper with history a little bit, right? Yeah, why is he always so white?
God, man, it is the Roman Catholic Church. Blonde-haired, blue-eyed Jesus is the way.
Yeah, look at him.
We know that motherfucker. We know he was tan.
He looks like me.
He was tan.
This is perfect.
He was from. He was like. He was in Israel in the Middle East. He was. And yeah, I guess this, reddish brownish hair with a very tan hue and brown eyes.
I didn't
This is
realize-
actually a fairly accurate depiction of Christ.
Imagine if he was like super pale with red hair,
Yo,
I was just gonna say,
red hair and blue eyes.
never paid attention, but like that figurine right there kind of looks like Chuck Norris.
It does.
Yeah,
it probably is Chuck Norris.
They
It's probably based off of Chuck Norris.
Holy fuck.
Oh God, we're so horrible.
Sorry, Jesus.
and Chuck Norris.
And Chuck.
Anybody else that was offended?
There was a lot of people that were offended by that. Oh man.
It's okay.
But this episode, we were having a fun conversation yesterday with our boy Graham. This is actually inspired by the Barefoot Sprinter.
He's always trying to fuck somebody in all his conversations.
Hey, but
Like literally.
hey, but you know what I think is kind of cool? Because I was talking actually to Sam yesterday about this because she said that she was mentioning some things with her.
We got to get Sam on the show.
She was
Come
saying
on, bro.
she was
Don't be
saying
shy.
that she was saying that she was mentioning some shit with her mom.
See how he's blowing that off?
And they were talking about like sex stuff, right? And I'm like, y'all women are just so, you guys just talk about sex stuff, just like so, whatever.
Openly,
like as guys, like we'll talk about that shit here and there, but it's not. Yeah, it's not common conversation. Y'all be talking about all dick sucking and all this shit. It's like what? Like that's wild. But
They get pretty in depth on it too.
they do.
Like they're not like we're just like disgusting. Like we're just dirty usually.
Yeah.
And they'll like actually talk about
Details.
it. Like
Yeah.
to get better at it, I guess. I don't know.
Oh God! One thing.
Uh-oh.
She told me this thing yesterday. I was like, Jesus Christ,
He's right
that's
there.
tough.
He's right there.
Earmuffs.
Lord, I'm sorry. No, but she was mentioning because, like, okay, there's this weird thing, and I know I've been living like this for a while though, but because she sleeps early, we always have sex during the day. It's like it has to happen during the day,
Or it doesn't happen.
or it doesn't happen. And then yesterday I was just talking to her. I was like, it's so abnormal that. Oh, we don't have sex at night because we're always asleep, right? It's always during the day. But she said, oh yeah, I have some girlfriends that talk to me and they told me like, they like the lights off so that they don't have to.
Oh.
First off, they don't have to look at the person they're with, but then they also don't have to pay attention to the way they look. And I was like, God damn, that's tough.
That's a bummer.
That is a bummer. Like that's really dark. And it's what also kind of just pinged me was like, damn, your girlfriends are telling you that they don't like to look at their man during sex.
They got to think of somebody else, right?
Like God, like
You're interrupting my flow here.
like you really, God, that's just girl.
Yeah, women are
That's a
evil.
bummer.
Yeah, but they'll talk about anything with each other.
I don't know.
Yeah, I was really shocked when my wife was telling me like how open she is with her mom, like and with her dad too, but not in the details, but like just explaining like oh yeah, you guys got to go watch the kids because we got to go handle business and stuff. And I'm just like, what the fuck? Like you can't. What? Like you don't do that with your parent. Like you don't tell them that. She's like, it's fine. It's no big deal.
You see,
But with like her mom, like, yeah, I'm like, oh shit. So she has an idea of like what happens. She's like, yeah. I'm like, oh shit.
well, you had Aurelius.
I know, right?
So,
no, but what,
I know what you mean.
more than that, obviously.
Yeah, he came from religion.
Yeah. Yeah.
He was a virgin birth.
Yeah. We're Mexican, so Virgin Mary and all that shit's legit.
Yeah, but the thing is, it shouldn't necessarily be weird, right? Because like
It
at that
shouldn't
point,
be, but-
you're both adults. I mean, like my mom, my single mom, right? I don't talk to my mom about any of that stuff because it is too. I couldn't imagine. First off, we're Christians, so I'm still a virgin.
Yeah. You're still
Right?
yourself for
I'm
marriage.
waiting till I'm married, right? But second,
Can't even get through it. That's great.
but that's my mom. Like, no, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it is.
What are you saving for your marriage exactly? Your butthole?
Pretty much.
That's the last
Like
thing.
I think everything else has probably been pretty explored. Well, maybe that's been explored too. I don't know.
But yeah, like anyway, back to what we were talking about initially. We don't talk about like things like this. And when we were having this run with Graham the other day when we were doing our run walk, he was mentioning some interesting stuff. I won't go.
He's different.
He's different, but he was pretty much talking about like what kind of insecurities do we deal with as guys, and potentially how have we been able to come to terms and get over those insecurities. And there's a fuck ton. There's especially within like the wellness industry. with what we do, products that are marketed like testosterone boosting, alpha brain, because you want to be a
Frank
fucking
Thomas
alpha.
and Doug Flutie on those commercials playing golf.
Who are they? I don't know it. What is it?
Frank Thomas, you see
The big hurt, son.
Yeah,
Frank
just
Thomas.
Can you pull up the
massive,
I'll see if I can find
massive
it.
black dude on those commercials for the testosterone boosting stuff, and he's
Oh,
on there
really?
with the former football player Doug Flutie, and there's a couple other guys who are like playing golf, and like there's a guy who's like kind of just like he's not like really out of shape, but he just looks a little bit more like you're.
Oh, this is a new commercial.
And anyway, they're like, you know, he's like having trouble with his swing type of thing, and they're they're all shooting the shit with him, and he wants to look like them, you know.
Okay.
Yeah, that's Frank Thomas.
Not necessarily look like them, but he
Yeah.
hears them like talking, and you know they're sharing with him like, you know, what they do or what they're
Text
on. Or
heft.
They
to
sell
369 369.
They sell the fuck out of this stuff.
I remember that
100%.
shit.
Nugenics, didn't they? What wasn't that like a? No, I'm thinking Keygenics.
So
my
this
bad.
stuff is real though. Like this stuff, like it's I don't want to associate anybody with this. So I won't mention a name, but a very popular person that came on our show and shared testosterone boosting things. A lot of these things are in that supplement right there. So
okay.
you can make your own connections, but I don't want to.
Lab coat.
Yeah.
But no, it's an interesting.
But I'm not saying there's anything wrong with any of that. Like
Yeah.
it actually can help boost your testosterone levels. Now, is boosting your testosterone levels going to help the same way as like, injecting testosterone or having your natural testosterone raised because you're getting better sleep and those kinds of things, which would probably have better sexual performance. There'd probably be a lot of things that would go along nicely with having a real increase in testosterone levels. I don't think that those supplements like that slightly elevate your testosterone levels via the way that they may elevate your blood work in your testosterone. I don't think they really do much, but I could be wrong on that. Like if people are finding it to work and they feel good, then fuck yeah. That's
what I was gonna say when it comes to like talking about like overcoming, and like having more confidence. If somebody takes an oral testosterone booster and they believe in it, and next thing you know, like they're waking up with like really fucking rock hard morning wood, and they're just having a little bit extra confidence. I mean, dude, I don't see the problem with that.
So you know what? I get what you're saying. I do see some issues, man. There's a lot because first off, it's clutch that you named within you, because the idea of whatever you're looking for is within you, I think is something that is really kind of missed from the wellness industry. I mean, it's not when you're thinking of wellness or the industry itself, the big thing is selling sups, right? So it's like, we have the answer to whatever you're finding. It's in this pill or it's in this
and you find that
shake.
a lot of times, and I don't want to sell anybody on anything, but you find that sometimes in like a mushroom trip.
It does take you.
Look, bro, you got it all. Like it's all right there already.
Yeah.
You're doing pretty good. You know?
That is the funny thing about mushroom trips.
It's weird.
Because like it does take you inward. You do start thinking about things that
holding up a mirror.
It's like holding up a mirror.
Hey, like you're doing it, man.
Right?
Like you're there.
It's forcing you to do that work within yourself to figure out the answers to whatever type of problems that you're having.
It might highlight the problems. It might highlight the good things. It might highlight. That's why it's a trip.
Yeah.
Right? Because like sometimes it's a bitch.
Right. Mark, did you know that they made an SNL skit of that Nugenics commercial?
Oh, sick.
Dude, we can't play the whole thing,
Oh,
but
okay.
I have to play this opening part because holy shit, dude, you're gonna fucking.
I wonder who they have as the black.
Oh,
Kenan Thompson, let's go.
Sick.
That is so good.
Dude, Frank Thomas is such a fucking stud athlete. I think he was was in the same backfield as Bo Jackson when they
Oh, shit.
I think they both played at Auburn.
Oh my god.
At around the same time. I think Frank Thomas a little older, but
Yeah.
Frank Thomas is the guy that you see in those commercials. He's a former baseball player, Hall of Fame baseball player, and he still looks like he's fucking jacked as hell. Still looks like he's
Big
big.
hurt for the White Sox.
He's got to be like 60 something though, right?
Dude, I can look it up, but yeah, he's up
no
there.
idea.
Yeah, he's good.
Yeah, look him up. He's a fucking monster.
Frank Thomas age.
How tall is he too? It's funny.
I think he's like 6'4" or 6'5".
54.
He's a big dude.
Oh, Bo Jackson's 59.
I just find it that like he is he's the spokes guy for this like test boosting, dick enhancing thing. It's just like this yacked black dude. It's like want to be like me slanging like it's just so funny.
Yeah, and then they picked like Doug Flutie to like be next to him, who's a like small like.
Hey, no one looking at Doug Flutie.
No. I was just thinking like whoever these guys, he's 54. It totally is.
Yeah.
I was thinking like whoever their agents are, these guys are like fucking brilliant, man. Like these guys really scored because when you're watching TV, especially like any daytime TV, they're all over the fucking place. Those commercials are everywhere. They sell the fuck out of that product.
Yeah.
On sports talk radio too. That shit's like every other commercial is how to boost your testosterone, and it's always like like. Not quite like this, but they're just like, we have so many that you can actually get a free sample right now. All you have to do is text, like some fucking phallic symbol type word to a certain number. And then it's like you get a free sample, but I have no idea what, like you have to pay shipping or some shit like that, but it's everywhere.
Well, I mean, you can't sell people on like the long road of like how much work and effort this would take to, like if your testosterone really was plummeting, a lot of times it could go back to how you're dealing with your day to day. Like maybe you're overstressed, maybe you're not sleeping enough. Maybe there are things. Maybe you are lining things up pretty well, and you actually have like a medical condition. There's
that's especially for young guys.
Yeah,
I don't think that's as many. Like I don't think that's not the majority of young guys.
They're probably robbing themselves of sleep. They're probably oversaturating themselves with like porn and inundating themselves with TikTok and Instagram and so forth, which is like just such an old guy to preach against, Like I'm a fan of all those things. I think they're great. It's part of our fucking future, and I think that like I like Gary V's way a little bit more of like this is going to be here, or even like Elon Musk. Like Elon Musk is like, I accept that there's going to be a lot of fucking distractions while you drive, so we're going to make a car that just drives for you. That way you can fucking answer your emails and text while you're driving and have it be less problematic. I think that trying to figure out a way to like live alongside a lot of these things is important, but then like some of the topic that we're going to be talking about today, like having insecurities, like this can really make you feel super insecure with all the different things that you see coming at you. There's a lot of beautiful images coming your way in the course of a day, and you might kind of sometimes feel left out of that. Like, I don't look like that guy. I don't have what that person has. Like, I don't have this. I don't have that. I think a lot of that's our social angst. People talk about social anxiety, and they talk about like, oh man, it really just helps if I unwind and have a couple drinks, then it's so much easier for me to talk. I don't want to be like a therapist to people, and I don't pretend to have all the answers either, but why do you have a hard time? Like why is it so hard for you? Like I think it's a good thing to like examine. And maybe if you felt better about the body that you're in, like maybe if your performance with your body, maybe if you could still play volleyball or tennis, or you could still ride your bike or still do some of the shit that you did when you were younger. Like when you were a kid, it probably wasn't hard to talk to the next door neighbor about coming outside and like fucking throwing the ball around with you. Probably knock on their door and like wait for them to come out, and they probably came out and you probably played with them. And there probably wasn't this like, oh, let me make sure I have a drink so I can talk to my friend. I need to have my milk with me, otherwise I can't fucking go ride my bike with my friend. So I think a lot of the angst that people are living with is that they're not where they want to be, and they're not someone else. But again, if you trace things back, you already have a lot of these things within you. And if you challenge some of these things on a daily basis, it should help, and it should make things a little bit easier being in social settings and not being so concerned about. I just think it's in the background. I don't think it's in the front for everybody. Obviously, if someone's obese, it might be more obvious. But I think some people don't want to get in conversations with certain people because I think I just don't think they're very confident in themselves.
It's with what you're saying. It is interesting, kind of how you grew up, because you had You had two other brothers. So there's an inherent like, how am I doing versus my brothers? And then obviously you have classmates, and you did wrestling when you were younger, so you were comparing yourself to all those guys there. But at the end of the day, and maybe you'd watch sports and watch TV, right? And you'd be like, God, that athlete's jacked, that athlete's strong. I want to be like that athlete, right? And even myself, growing up, social media didn't exist until like, at least Instagram and that type of shit didn't really exist until 2012, 2011.
It's pretty fucking new, especially the way it is right now. It's very new, right?
Yeah, I was already 18, you know? I was already 18, 19 at that point. So, I mean, even though I had porn for a long ass time, social media wasn't a thing. But now I think it is really unique because we've talked about this in the past, how comparing yourself to other people can actually be really beneficial. I think that's something, as I've thought about it, it's like that is actually something that's very easy for me to say and us to say, because we haven't always been comparing ourselves to the world, because we didn't always have the ability to compare ourselves to the world. We had the ability to compare ourselves to our classmates, maybe athletes that we played sports with, people that we had direct contact with. One step at a time.
Yeah.
But now if you're on Instagram or you're on TikTok and you follow a lot of people and you have a feed and you're a teenager who has a feed, we never experienced being a teenager, comparing yourself to the rest of humanity and constantly being bombarded with other teenagers or other young guys who have hundreds of thousands or millions of followers with crazy physiques, and you're here at step one trying to figure shit out. That is actually a very unique thing to teenagers now that we did not experience. And it's like, it's easy to say, like, I think that it's great, to be perfectly honest, that I can see so many people that are doing such things at such a high level and doing things so much better than me, because I can actually directly see how they're doing it and I can learn faster. That's why I think it's so dope. But when you're younger and it's hard for you to figure that out, you haven't gotten anything started yet, and the immediate thing that you see is everything that you're not good at, it's a new type of challenge that it's not just easy. It's not just saying, hey, don't compare yourself to other people. That's what I used to say, but now I realize it's not that easy.
It's an interesting topic, and there's like a lot of different ways you can go with it. But if I think about the way I felt like in high school, you know, you could feel in high school, I mean, I'm sure people feel all kinds of different things, but you could feel unique in a sense of like, I don't really know if there's anybody else that's like similar to me. Like, you might be part of a group, you might be on your football team, your soccer team, whatever. But for some reason, when you're locked into that high school, you don't really realize, oh, there's probably like 20 of me, like in this just area. You know, there's probably like 20 dudes that love lifting, that are part of a football team, that have a pretty similar mindset to me, that are focused on some of their goals. And you think about these different friends that you had when you were in high school. People have these different nicknames. I mean, I remember one of my brother's friends' name was Moose, right? Like, you start to think about some of these things.
Why was it Moose though?
Moose cock. No,
Okay.
no, he was just a huge white boy. You know?
Right.
Yeah, he's just a moose. So, but like, other high schools have that guy, right? Like, other places have any of the things that you think are unique to your situation. They're really not.
Yeah.
There's multipliers of this. There's kids that, like, I didn't go to the prom. I didn't like to hang out with popular people. My brothers were both popular. My oldest brother was very popular, and like, I didn't care about that much. And I saw the way some of the popular people treated some of the people that I was close with, and I just always thought it was gross, and I didn't like these factions and
cliques,
shit.
yeah.
And the cliques, it fucking made me just sick. And there's a lot of racism and shit in my school, and I fucking hated all that stuff. And so I just didn't really want to hang out with a lot of people, especially as I got to be like a junior and a senior, and there was like parties and shit like that. I just didn't go to them anymore. So I'm like, I don't want any part of any of this. There's always like fights and just bullshit going on, it seemed like to me. But while I may have felt unique with my decisions back then, it's also interesting that there's, you know, probably at other schools, there's probably people thinking in very similar ways.
Yeah, no, absolutely. But like, even though that's the thing, you at the time you were in your microcosm of like, this is high school. Like but if you are a teenager now, that's not it. Like you're going home or you're in school and you're on TikTok and you see the world. You see what other people at your age are doing. And
I felt really good about like my strengths. Like I did really well in powerlifting and stuff. So like the weight that I lifted, which I don't really remember the exact numbers, but like they were decent, but they wouldn't be anything anymore.
Yeah.
You know, in comparison, because all I had to compare myself to was just a couple knucklehead friends that I had that just weren't that dedicated. So it's like, who was I beating up on? You know what I mean? Like it wasn't anything to really write home about. Once you start to get outside of just your high school and you start to talk about like New York State as a whole, well, if you're a good athlete and you're starting to beat up on all of those athletes, well, now that's something. Now you're talking to like the University of Miami and getting a scholarship or something, right?
Yeah.
That's where like other people would notice. But I was in my own bubble. And so I felt really good about the things I was doing, but I didn't really recognize or notice that. I felt it was special, and I think that is a good thing for me because it helped build confidence.
Absolutely.
But had I seen and poked around and been like, Larry Wheels, who's this guy? I'm like, what? He's younger than me? What? He lives more. Well, at least he's not more. Oh shit, he's more jacked. Oh shit, like he's like.
He has a deeper voice. He's more handsome.
Deeper voice. He's more handsome. He has more followers. I'm gonna kill my.
KMS, real quick.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. No, seriously. But you know, the thing is though, you did have something you were good at. I think that's the basis of a lot of it. Like you had something you were interested in when you were younger, and you were smart enough to kind of you were smart enough to develop a skill at that, right? Whereas and then you become an adult and you developed a lot of skills and a lot of other things, but you still had this thing that like that's my fucking thing, and I might not be the absolute best, but I'm pretty fucking good at it. And that's one thing that I think would be beneficial for not just men, but any person to figure out, like develop an actual skill that you're truly interested in and that you can get pretty decent at. It doesn't have to be lifting, it can be anything, but like develop something because that can be something that you feel good about and you fall back on. I would say it would be tough to feel confident if you weren't good at anything.
Yeah.
And if you're not good at anything, I'm not telling you that you shouldn't be, you shouldn't go around not being confident in yourself, but it's going to be hard to, because you're going to have this dissonance within your mind that's like, I want to be more confident, but there's nothing that I'm actually good at, or nothing that I've built at, nothing that I've built proficiency at.
I think there's a lot of things that you can probably choose, and there's certain things like that just might be more valuable to certain people. Like I know there are some people who are just like, I just won't fucking quit.
Oh yeah.
That's the only thing. I'm not saying that's for me, but I'm just saying I know some people that's the thing that they'll say about themselves. They're like, I don't really know if I'm smart. I don't know if I'm this. I don't know if I'm that, but I know that I won't quit. So maybe for that person, maybe, signing up for a half marathon, or maybe joining your cross country team, or doing some track, or doing some sort of event that's going to actually show that. That's actually going to test that. Now, when you do compare yourself to other people, which can sometimes be a trap, you might actually do pretty good. And you're like, you know what? Not only did I do pretty well in comparison to some of those other people, I did better than I thought I was going to do, and I did better than I did last time.
Yeah,
that's how you build that shit up. That's how you build that confidence up. Is you have something clear that you showed yourself that you could actually do. Now, some people don't always need the physical side of things. That's just where my brain goes to. But you can do this through other means. But I would say as a man, if you're insecure, I would say there's two main places that my brain goes to. One would be learn how to fight. And number two, and not even necessarily in this order, would be like build a body that's like a little more durable in whatever way you can. But if you know how to defend yourself, people's jokes and people's this and that, it's like, it's just kind of different when you know how to defend yourself. You're like, yeah, that's okay. You make fun of me all you want. Are you aware that I could fucking kill you? Are you aware I could take your ass out? You know what I mean?
Yeah. That
capacity, not to actually act on it, but to feel comfortable. Like if you're making fun of me and we're teasing, that's fine. But like there's another couple of steps to this if you want to be disrespectful. Like you said the other day, you're like, that's what somebody chooses, and
Yeah.
it's not going to make you like hyped up or anything. You're like, okay, well, I'll just take you down and we'll just choke you out.
The interesting thing, the true interesting thing is there is a stereotype amongst people who look at people who like do boxing or jujitsu or whatever. I think people on the outside think that those people are actually just like violent people. And it's actually like being within it and seeing the people in it, like those aren't the people that are going to be quick to actually hurt somebody if something happened. The people I think that are quick to turn to violence are individuals who actually truly cannot defend themselves or truly they don't know how to handle situations. I think that's one thing that you see with, domestic violence, men who actually do feel the need to beat on women or potentially beat on other men. Those guys typically aren't guys who can actually fight. I think that's one thing that's very beneficial about picking up a martial art is, number one, inherently, and it depends on the martial art. If you, I don't want to, let's see, who can I not offend? If you pick up, okay, you know what, whatever, Aikido, right? And Aikido is a cool art form, but if somebody who did Aikido were to actually fight somebody who knows how to fight, they'd get wrecked. It's not necessarily something you can do in public. But if you pick up a martial art like boxing or wrestling or jujitsu, and you learn it, you will inherently become more confident in yourself as just going through life. Because not that you're now looking for fights. Yeah, bless you. Not that you're now looking for fights, because I never look for fights. But if something did go down, my first thing would be like, okay, you're a wild one for trying to step to me. I'm just going to go the other way. And if it really actually happened, I'm probably going to wreck you. I probably can do it without hurting you because I could choke you. But the big thing here is it's like you will be, in the past, for me personally, I was big, right? So no one typically wanted to fuck with me because they'd be like, oh, that's a big black guy. I'm just not going to bother. So
I'll be super strong.
There's one deterrent. But the thing is like, even though I was big, if somebody who knew how to fight wanted to actually really fight me, I probably would have got my ass beat, right? Now I there's another level of confidence for myself because I know that most people who do actually try to fight me aren't going to be able to. So it's a good thing if you're younger, if you're older, to pick up a martial art because you will become more confident in yourself just walking through life. It's helpful.
I think that's a lot of reasons why people started lifting. Yeah. Years and years ago, I think it's more well known now that, jujitsu and like there's ways to protect yourself. But I think a lot of times years ago, someone had an insecurity, they would like go and train and they would work out. And that was like kind of like a tough guy thing. Like, oh, I know how to lift some weights and I hit the heavy bag every once in a while so I can wreck somebody if some shit goes down. But we didn't really know, like, the UFC came along and Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and the Gracies, and like they showed us like, what the fuck is this? Like a guy who weighs 180 pounds can just wrap himself around these bigger guys, and like then the guy's tapping for some reason. Like, what's he tapping about? What's happening?
Yeah.
Like it didn't even, I remember I didn't even know. I was like, what? The only guy that knew was like one of the announcers. When I remember watching the UFC, like one of the guys was like, he immediately was like, Royce Gracie is going to completely dominate. Like he just, he's like, this is going to be kind of this is going to be like an exhibition of Gracie Jiu-Jitsu. And I remember being like, no, it's not. Like this guy's going to get killed. Like this guy's 6'1" or 6'2". He's 180 pounds. He doesn't have any muscle. I'm like, this guy doesn't even look like he works out. And it was Royce, and he had that weird stance. His like arms were way out. Like he was just, and he didn't know how to punch. Like it didn't seem like he knew how to punch. He would just, and then he would just like pitter patter on people's heads, on the side of their heads. And then he would take his feet and he would do the same things like the side of your body just to like, I think just to be annoying. And then he would fucking put you in a jiu-jitsu hold and you were fucking done. Yeah. It was really interesting to see. But I think whenever we're talking to people and they're like, oh, I want to start running. And you're like, well, that's cool. That's a great exercise. What are you running for? Well, I want to lose weight. It's like, okay, well, let's back up a second. Who told you that running is great for losing weight? Because running wouldn't be my first place for you to start. Yeah. I would want you to start with your diet, and I'd want you to start with some walking, because I don't think it's necessary. I don't think we have to run in order to do that. And then the same thing kind of reminds me of like, if you want to feel better about yourself, you want to feel more secure about yourself. Well, wouldn't being able to dismantle somebody, like, wouldn't that be I think that would be a great place to start. You're an insecure kid. You're 13 years old. You get picked on here and there. Now someone picks on you and they're 17 and it doesn't make any difference. When you're 13, you don't care. You're like, hey man, if you want to go with me, I know how to take people down. It doesn't matter that your age is not going to matter. The fact that you're bigger and stronger is going to be mitigated because I have a skill set.
Absolutely. For me personally, it was the physique, once I started lifting and stuff, because, and this might be just me, I don't know, paying too much attention to it, but like, I remember walking through like big crowds and like nobody got out of my way. It seemed like people made it like a point to like walk in my direction to bump into me. It could be just my like insecurities taking over. But I remember,
doesn't matter. It's
right.
It's real for you, right?
Yeah. But I remember when I went from like 165 to like 175, all of a sudden lanes started opening up for me.
You're watch out, bitches.
Yeah. I had that confidence. So it could be the way I was walking, the way I was moving. I wasn't like, hiding down here and shit. I was more like upright, proud to have like, my girl at my side. And then like things started just, like I said, they literally started opening up where I'm like, man, I remember if someone like that would just totally ignore the fuck me and just walk straight into me. So that was for me personally, but I wish I could go back and tell, myself in like junior high, which is something I tell my daughter now, is just like, you need experiences. Like I tell her like, hey, like I'm not going to force you to do anything, but I will probably force you to have experiences. So like whether it be sports or like whatever that after school program might be, like, cause you don't know what it's going to lead to. And then, so like for me personally, like it was always like, there's people there, like I'm going to go home instead where there's just video games, and I'm by myself.
So you're kind of doing the opposite of what you feel maybe your parents maybe missed out on, where they maybe, it's cool that they afforded you a position to be able to like choose video games. That's dope. But they should have like maybe said, hey, I know you want to play video games. Get the fuck out of your room. Let's go do this.
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
And and again, like I remember my childhood my way. They probably remembered a different way. Like I was in sports and then one day I just wasn't. And for them, they're probably, I don't want to say they were in cruise control because that sounds like I'm being mean. But like I had two siblings, right?
They're
both
busy.
older.
They got other shit going on.
They have a lot of shit going on. They had two good examples like that turned out pretty damn good. It's like, oh, we did a good job with him. He's probably fine. And I was fine. Like I don't have I didn't say I have a bad childhood or anything like that, but I do wish my dad came in and was just like, bro, you're way too fucking skinny. Like you eat like shit. You need to go to the gym with me or something. Cause we went to, like, we were talking about cross courts the other day in Woodland, he would go there all the time. And it's like, we would play like a racquetball and shit like that. But I wish he would have just been like, you are a lot skinnier than all the kids your age. Like, let's go do this instead for today. Like maybe once or twice a week. That would have been fucking huge.
What do you think, what kind of wording or what kind of encouragement, like could he have said something at that time? Like, hey, your cousin's going to go with us, or like, could he pull in like another family example or someone that you guys knew?
I would have ran away quickly, because what I would have seen is like,
so maybe that's why he didn't do it sometimes, right? I don't know.
Could be, yeah. But what I would have seen is like, oh shit, there's going to be two of us. There's going to be competition there. He's going to be stronger than me. What would have totally worked for me would be like, hey, it's just going to be me and you, nobody else. Literally nobody else is going to be there. And we're just going to go move some weight around. Not even sure what we're going to do. We're not going to test anything. Just like kind of like how you get people to just like, trick people into lifting and stuff. That would have been huge for me.
That's a great dad fucking hack right there that you just shared with everybody. Like,
yeah.
Because he didn't know.
No.
You know what I mean? And you're not going to tell him. Hey, Dad, it'd be cool if we can get some alone time. Just me and you, like palling around. Like, I don't know. No one ever says that. But it's like it's an important thing. But I don't know how sometimes a parent's like toughest thing is like they got to kind of play this guessing game, and they have to really try to almost manage your feelings. And I think as a parent, we probably too often play out in our heads how our kid's going to react to something. Yeah. When we should just try to. I tell both of my kids every night. I tell them I love them. If they would let me hug them and kiss them, I would, but they won't. I go in their room every night and I act weird and I say weird shit and I tell them I love them and I say goodnight every night, fucking no matter what. But it's like, I don't want to do it a lot of times because I'm like, they don't even fucking care. But I'm like, you know what? I don't care if they don't. I don't care if they care or not. I'm gonna fucking go do it. And they're gonna like when I die or when I'm not around, they're gonna be like, I know that he fucking loved me. He told me. He fucking told me every night.
Yeah,
told me every day.
Yeah, that's what like my in-laws will say. They're just be like, hey, like Jasmine doesn't ignore everything you guys do. She might not like acknowledge it on the spot. She's like, but she knows who loves her. So it's like. Like you going in every night, it's like, no, that's that's putting up points on the scoreboard for sure.
They're usually kind of like half annoyed, it seems like.
Yeah.
Like, I'm just going to keep doing it. I don't care.
Yeah. I like that a lot. Yeah.
Yeah. No, like in terms of kids, we've mentioned that, at least I've mentioned the book Mindset by Carol Dweck. If kids can like learn to, that it's an effort is the thing that's important, the effort that they put into things, not how talented they are at something. Right. Because you become an adult, you're going to be bad at everything that you try that's new. You're not, there are going to be some people that are a little bit better than others at picking something up and starting something, but they're still going to be a beginner. They're still going to suck. But if you're someone who has been told you've been talented or whatever as a kid, you're not going to do anything new as an adult because you're just too afraid of being bad, right? You're going to see too many people that are good, and then you're just going to think it's not for you.
Yeah, both of my kids know that like they didn't just like inherit some genetic thing. Like Andy's really talented. She's a great swimmer. I was a good lifter. The kids, they probably inherited something, but they're both in here training. They're both in here working out. Quinn came in again today. She was asking last night, what about the gym? She's like, we went in too late yesterday. It was too hot in there. Let's go in let's get in a little early. And she's not normally like a morning person. So, and this is nothing like at home. I haven't been like, hey, you guys need to get into the gym 4 days a week, and you need to get on this program. Like, there's been no conversation about it really whatsoever, other than like occasionally they just mention like, oh, I'll be at the gym at this time tomorrow.
And what have you seen in just going to the gym, the way like they carry themselves?
Yeah, so far with Quinn's only been here like a handful of times, so she's 14 and it's still new to her. But Jake, Jake just looks different. Like he just all of a sudden, not like to me anyway, just all of a sudden started looking completely different. I'm like, what the fuck? Kind of like Owen too. Owen lost some weight. Jake lost some weight. I think Jake lost like 15 pounds. And Owen, I think, lost like 20 pounds. But with Jake, I think he was getting to a point too where like he wasn't eating enough. And I was like, you doing okay? Like what are you doing? He's like, my workout's getting kind of like shitty and like I was like, yeah, dude. I'm like, you need to fuel yourself, It's cool that you don't have any body fat anymore, but like you need to fucking eat, So he brought that side back up a little bit more. But I'm really fortunate that both of them are into fitness. They're both into working out. And Jake's confidence has just changed so much. I think that the pivot point for him was going to Matt's school. I think that was a big thing for him to go to that Acton Academy. I think was a huge deal. But then when he started coming into the gym, it's not coincidental that he like came home and he was like, oh, I applied for a job at McDonald's. And then like 2 weeks later, he applied for a job at In-N-Out. And then he didn't get the job at In-N-Out. And then I didn't hear much about it. And he's like, yeah, I think my friend got picked for the job. And he was like half bummed. And then 2 weeks later, he came home and he's like, I got a job at In-N-Out. I was like, oh, I thought you said it didn't work out. He goes, no, I just drove to the one in Woodland and applied there. I was like, when did you do that? He's like, a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know for sure. I noticed a difference in Jake, like pretty like drastic difference. Not saying that he was like not a like awesome kid before, but like I would try to like say what's up, and it was like a quick like, oh, what's up, and then kind of like I'm gonna keep moving about my day,
Yeah, the last thing I want to do is talk to any adults.
Yes,
right?
Yes.
When you're a teenager, you're like, phew.
Yeah. But then, more recently in the gym, it's like, oh, what's up, Jake? And he's just like, oh, hey, what's going on? I was like, whoa, like sick. This is awesome. Like you're present. You're actually like want to like communicate with me, you know?
Right.
And it was fun. It was cool. And so I was just like,
He's understanding. He's seeing like, oh, these people, like, they care about me.
right. Yeah.
You know
yeah.
what I mean?
So yeah, no, dude, I think it's pretty freaking cool to see that change.
Pat Project family, how's it going? I want to talk to you guys about Within You Supplements, which is developed by Mark Bell. The cool thing about Within You is that it's not a crazy supplement line which has a crazy amount of unnecessary supplements. They stick to what is necessary. Whey protein, electrolytes, and the electrolytes are dope because they have amino acids and they have zinc. Then there's fasting gum. So we talk a lot about intermittent fasting on the podcast, and this fasting gum has apigenin, rutin, and caffeine, which can actually help you prolong a fast. It's really freaking cool. It was developed by Mark and Joel Green, who we've had on the podcast multiple times. So you guys got to check it out. Andrew, how can they get it?
Yes, that's over at markbellslingshot.com. And at checkout, enter promo code PowerProject10 to save 10% off your entire order. Links to them down in the description, as well as the podcast show notes.
And there's, when it comes to the gym, there's just the consistent aspect of, I don't like to say that the gym is hard necessarily, but you are working against some type of resistance in there, and you do something that feels kind of difficult, and you improve. And you do it again and again and again, right? That's where it's like you're getting repetitions in of doing something that, number one, most people in the population don't do, but you're going in there, you're doing it, you're getting stronger, you're getting better, and that in and of itself, that's why people that lift. That's why it can boost their confidence, and that's why they like it so much. But honestly, anything within that, whether it be that a martial art, because now you're going against somebody else and you come out of it, whether you won or lost or whatever, you put yourself in a situation that most people don't put themselves in. Cold plunge, even though it's fucking cold water, or taking a cold shower if you don't have a cold plunge, right? After you take a cold shower and you come out of it, first off, you go in, you're like, I fucking don't want to do it. I don't want to do it. You do it. You come out the other side of a cold shower, you're like, fuck, I feel fucking good. Like, not just because of the dopamine release, but because you did something that you knew was going to be uncomfortable. You did it, you overcame it, now you feel better about yourself because of it. So if you can figure out a way of continuing to put yourself in front of things that maybe you don't know, so that's picking up a new skill, learning a new something that you're actually interested in learning, doing it, learning it, getting better at it, and then becoming proficient, that will absolutely increase how confident you feel as an individual, because you're continuing to challenge yourself. You don't want to get out of the habit of not putting challenge in front of yourself.
Yeah, and you want to think about, like, if there are insecurities around certain things, like, why? Like, a lot of times there's just not that much preparation into something. Would you kind of be insecure or shy for someone to, like, maybe not shy is not maybe the right word, maybe slightly embarrassed if somebody saw, like, your car because you have, like, shit everywhere in your car, or if someone saw your, like, bedroom or your, like, is it, or are you kind of cool with it because you got it I mean, maybe you don't care. Like, I'm a little bit more like, I don't care. Like, in my car, I throw shit, and there's, like, Quinn's like, you got these beautiful cars. I'm like, I'll clean it out. She's like, more like mom will clean it out. And I'm like, probably, but I don't really care. That's sort of my thing. But I think that a lot of times there's things that we do push off and that we're not taking care of and that we're not cleaning up. And then it gets to be where there's, like, little bombs of that all over. And I have a tough time managing it. I'm not afraid to talk about it or admit it. Like, my office gets bombarded with a lot of stuff. I could probably keep it better organized myself. But just like somebody else, maybe with their diet or with their training, I don't feel like I got the time to fucking worry about organizing it. And you can see I'm getting defensive because I'm swearing. I'm, like, trying to plead my case over here to myself.
No one's dissing you here, Mark.
It's
the circle of trust.
That's right. That's right. It's all on me. It's like I'm not organized in that way. So but it's a tough thing. Like, the more things that you're unorganized with, it can be harder for you to be able to put this effort forward, because you have to. There's a lot of work that needs to be done if you want to feel secure about yourself. You want to feel good about yourself. There's a big effort that you have to put in. Every single day.
I just look at it as, like, the best bang for your buck, and this is how I justify being a piece of shit. But it's like, am I gonna really change the world by washing the dishes? Like, probably not.
Could change the world of your wife.
But in my household, it will make a huge difference, right? So like you have to look at it both ways. But I the reason why I think that way, or I have that
If
thought,
you get more pussy, you might be able to change the world easier because you might be in a better mood.
Wow.
So therefore, doing the dishes.
Yeah.
You know
I think
what I mean?
actually,
Like,
yeah.
so that's why I started using the dishwasher. Because
you're like dishes equal blowjob equal like me ruling the world. Okay, fucking noted.
that's the cascade of disciplines.
Yeah.
Hey, you know what? That's true. Pussy does make the world go around.
It's undefeated.
Undefeated.
Mm-hmm.
Stay away from that devil pussy, though.
Oh, you gotta be careful.
Yeah, you gotta be careful.
One thing that
Oh, here you go, training those fingers again.
one thing that came, one thing that came
Now
to
your
mind,
delts are just popping.
well, yeah, they are.
Yeah.
One thing that came to mind, Mark, you were talking about how your kids don't give a fuck that you don't give a fuck that they don't give a fuck about what you're talking about, right?
Right.
There's an aspect of not putting too much weight on what people think of you, like because number one, it does matter to an extent if you're doing some fucked up shit, like you know, like, but at the end of the day, you have to focus on things that you're interested in and getting good at those things. And the thing is like, there will always be people that are super critical of you. There are always going to be people who their only thoughts are of trying to take down or shit talk on other people.
Right.
And if you continue, if like the first step actually is not being the person who always talks about other people. One thing that I think is really cool is like, I can say this for myself, and I'm pretty certain it is for both of you guys, the people that I hang around aren't people who are constantly shit talking other people. I know people like that who was like, the first thing is like, have you heard what she did? Have you heard of what he did? Have you heard of this? That bitch.
I got a couple of go-to friends where like I know that that's what's going to happen when I get around them, but I actually like enjoy it because it's very, very rare that I'm even around them.
And you can just listen. You're just like,
yeah.
It's
I'm
cool,
like,
right?
I knew this was coming.
But number one, I've never heard you.
Yeah.
I've never heard you take the time out of your day to be like, this motherfucker, like fuck him, and he's doing this and this, or you don't do that. And Andrew, neither do you. You don't spend your time talking and thinking about other people. Why? Because y'all got better shit to do than talk and think about other people. And you'll notice if you
if I am thinking about other people, I'm actually thinking about what did I do wrong? I did something wrong. I could wrong this person. Why are they so upset? Why are they mad? How did I miscommunicate? Is there something like I'll go through like a checklist, and that's when sometimes I might bring it up to other friends and say, hey, like I want to make sure like I'm still like not going crazy because like here's what happened, and then I'll tell people, and then they might say, yeah, you did fuck up right there. Or they'll say, no, you're doing okay. Yeah. But I check myself, I guess is what I try to say.
But that's very different than just shit talking people to shit talk. Because there's a lot of people who like they wake up and that's like their mode. They're immediately texting someone about somebody else, and they're just like they're kind of being a bully. They're just trying to bring some motherfucker down in their life, right?
People love the drama.
They do. And I think one thing about us is like, we don't fuck with drama, right? Like there's no time to spend time thinking about the drama of another person or bringing down another person like that. Focusing on trying
we're susceptible to it, but yeah, we're not going to hang out there for very long. And if we do, we're probably going to, hopefully we'll start to recognize it's like our own fault.
Yeah. But even like anybody can be susceptible to it. But if that's something that you're constantly doing, you're always trying to think of, like you're going through social media, you see someone who might be doing something pretty cool, but immediately you're like, you ain't shit. Right? Instead of
good. Yeah, it's not good.
Instead of being someone who's like, what that guy's doing is really cool. What that girl's doing is really cool. She's super strong. She's fucking killing it. Holy shit, she's a millionaire at 20? Good for her. But instead,
I think the go-to is what about me? How did I didn't? I mean, you see that in the comments sometimes. Somebody be like, send me a slingshot, or send, like they're just, you're like, whoa, like, I don't know, where did that come from? And I think that's a tough thing to get yourself out of, but a way to get out of it is if you are a person if you're producing something, if you're making something, creating something, whether it be just your own workouts or whether it be music or whether it be a podcast, photographs, fucking journaling. Like, I mean, you could get into like cheating the system and have it be anything, but you got to make stuff. And if you don't make stuff, I think it registers in your body. And I think your body and your brain, like we know the book, The Body Keeps Score. I think it's like, that is so literal to every extent of human life that you can possibly think of, that your brain and body does keep score, and it knows when you're lying to yourself. That's why you have such these profound trips when you do something like mushrooms, or people have these profound things that happen when they go on like a run. Or I'm sure it happens even in jiu-jitsu when you're really fucking tested, you can't breathe anymore. And you're like, I can't really move my arms or legs hardly, but I still got to figure out a way to compete to get out of this next hold or to get into this next thing. When you're that compromised, when your back is up against the wall that much, that's where you start to really see like kind of what you're made out of. And when you're backed up against the wall like that, I think it opens up your brain to being really humble and recognizing like, I don't know, just humbling you to the point where you realize that you're going to probably need other people to kind of help you out of these particular situations a lot of times.
And that's one of those big things is, again, just focusing on yourself. Because at the end of the day, if you're trying to be more confident, if you're trying to enter rooms being a confident individual, then how about you focus on things that are going to allow you to do that? How about you focus on things that are going to allow you to improve, right? Learn more shit. I know that when I was younger and, when I was getting into learning about training and starting to actually train people, I had a lack of confidence because I knew that I had a lot to learn. That hasn't changed, by the way. I know that I have a lot to fucking learn, and that's going to be the theme until the day that I die. But especially when I was much younger, I was like, there was a big understanding of, wow, for me to become proficient at this, I need to learn a lot. I became proficient, but
you may have had them work out or do things that you thought they had to do more things in line with what you were doing. Maybe.
Kinda. It wasn't necessarily like that. I just knew that there was just so many things within fitness and there's still so many things within fitness that I'm excited about learning. But when I was first starting to do that with people, because I was just starting, there was an insecurity in the lack of knowledge. But the theme that I think we all have here is we're always learning more. When we have new guests that come onto the podcast, we're genuinely curious about the knowledge that they have about what they're doing. We're not trying to prove a point to them or anything. We're actually curious about learning what they know. And through that, we become more knowledgeable. Now, I don't go into situations trying to prove what I know when I'm in public with people, but I know that I do feel confident because I'm like, even though I don't know everything and there's a lot to learn, there's an infinite amount of shit that I can learn, I know that I know quite a bit about some shit, right? And if I'm asked questions about things, I feel confident enough to answer those questions about things. That in and of itself, because we're always learning more, that brings us, at least I know that brings me confidence.
Yeah.
How do you feel about that?
Yeah, and then what I was going to point out, though, is if you did get a question that you couldn't answer, all the confidence that you've accrued, you're okay with saying, I don't know, exactly the way you just mouthed it. Yeah. So yeah, no, I'm in 100% full agreement. And then, but just back to like what Mark was saying with like some of the comments where, I don't know, it's like you're posting something about a slingshot, your Tesla or whatever, and someone's just like, hey, Mark, can I have $100? Or, whatever it is. Like they're like, I'm not saying that person might just be joking, but like looking for like the handout or something. Or we see it all the time with like, I wish I had a ST near me, or I wish I was closer or whatever. The reason why I'm bringing this up is because Stephen Pressfield just published his newest book. So far, it's fucking incredible.
What's it called?
It's called Put Your Ass Where Your Heart Wants to Be. So basically what he's saying is, if you want to be one of the world's best powerlifters in the world, you just happen to move to Sacramento because that's where your heart wants to be. So instead of like, complaining like, I don't have this, I don't have that, just put your ass where your heart wants to be and stop asking for the handouts and start, just putting in the work. Another fucking awesome Stephen Pressfield book.
Oh, but it's 2 hours. It's a shorty.
It's a shorty, dude, and it moves fast. I love it. It is perfect for me because my ADHD ass cannot handle like a long form book right now. But this one, like each chapter is like 2 minutes long and I'm like, oh, this is great. But yeah, I highly recommend it because it will put your ask where your heart wants to be and stop like complaining and shit.
I was just thinking as we were having some of these conversations and thinking about, people looking for like handouts and things like that. I think something that's been really helpful for me, and I'm still working on it, I still have to get a lot better at this, is when somebody's talking, I have a tendency to think I or me, or like I need to, you just said something and now I have to follow it up with like I or me. And I've actually been working on not doing that because somebody's like, they're trying to fucking tell you something. And then you're just going to switch it over to you. Like, why are you switching it over to you? Mm-hmm. If Nsima says, oh, I went to Starbucks and like, I went to order this coffee and they gave me something different. I could just say, oh man, that's screwed up. Like you went to order this, and they gave you they gave you a giant fucking frappuccino and you just ordered like espresso. That's weird.
Yeah.
Instead, I'm going to turn it into like being about me and like, oh, this happened to me, so the other day, like, and so
Mine was worse, man.
Yeah, like that kind of stuff. And I think about like, that's really important with kids is to like fucking listen to them. Yeah. Like, they're not crazy. The stuff they say, I know you think it's fun and silly and cute or whatever, but fucking like trump that stuff up, man. Like make that stuff more like it's fucking cool. When they have these ideas and they have these like different things, I'm going to send you a video right now, Andrew, of
it happens all the time. People get us confused.
Pretty much the same person.
Yeah, Andrew has so dark.
A beard.
Yeah, I have a couple that you sent me already. You sent me.
Yeah. I sent you some like
run, and then
some good mornings and stuff. Yeah.
You got another one?
Yeah, you can actually roll those other ones for a second if you want.
Okay. You got audio on this one too?
Yeah, I think there's a little audio to it. Okay, it's just me using the Pro Pulsars or whatever, the David Weck thingies. I was messing around with them today.
Let's see here. How do
Oh, you just started over. There you go. Messing around with the Pro Pulsars, trying to get them to shake and shimmy the right way. Messing around at Davis. I did a lot of barefoot stuff today, and this is just kind of at the end of the workout. I'm
What size are your shorts?
just cruising around. Those are ultra mediums.
Yeah.
I'm gonna run straight at you too, okay?
Your booty meat really seems to be popping out of that one.
Booty meat.
Mm-hmm. But this is just part of the reason why I sent Andrew 2 videos, because this is 2022. This is this is this morning, and then I'm going to show you a good morning.
Mm-hmm. I see where you went there.
But like that's what I'm doing now, and I'm working on shit with stuff like that, and working on just being able to run better and move better. And so sometimes when someone asks about like I don't know, they ask about how to get better, or how do you advance, or like, so what I'm doing now is not necessarily like what got me to where I'm at. This is the shit that got me to where I'm at. This is the stuff that nobody wants to ever do or try. You might turn it down a pinch if you can do that.
How much weight is that?
600 pounds.
Go, Mark.
With chains on there too.
Is that Smokey in the background?
Sounded like it.
I'm not sure who's yelling, yeah. I actually think I'm working out with Brian McKenzie in this video.
How do you feel? I feel amazing.
That is a very lean face, right?
Mm.
I just kind of show that just for like, like I'm willing to shift gears. I'm willing to like try different stuff. I'm willing to, it's going to be awkward for me for running for a while. It's going to take some time. And, transitioning into that from doing those like heavy ass lifts from back in the day, it's shit's just different, but I'm still trying to improve. I'm still trying to get better.
Oh, there we go. That's good.
Here's my nephew Hamish, and this is like just fucking dope, like how a kid's mind works. And this, like, I sent him a voice note back about like how just I was impressed with these ideas, and I want to like sit with him and talk to him more about it. We'll just play like just a little bit of it.
3 ideas. So one is was like, a blowpipe? What if there was like, how there's pinball where you pull back the thing that shoots the ball? What if like a spring? You have a spring right inside. You pull back the thing, and like a blow dart gun, it shoots it out of a tube, and you can like get a target.
This is our R&D here at Slingshot.
And it would land on the target, and it needs to be like a sticky consistency that it doesn't stick to the walls of the barrel, but it also sticks to the target. And you need a target. You don't need one, but still.
You can just pause it. He was driving his parents crazy because he kept telling them all these ideas, and they're like, "We know exactly who will care about this. Like, send this to your uncle." So I was like, "All right, me and you are going to team up. We're going to try to like make these projects actually happen." But like a kid, like a situation like that, like if you want a kid to have insecurities, then that's great to just crush those ideas and say, oh, you're talking crazy talk. Like, you can't make stuff like that. Like, there's nowhere to get that. Like, where do you get that stuff? Like, that's going to cost too much money. Try to like just throw at a kid, all these different things to actually make this happen. And you can really rain on their parade. Or you can say, what, maybe trying to figure out how to manufacture that might be a little bit difficult. Maybe we can go to a hardware store and get some like parts and like fuck with it, and maybe we can figure out a way to make something.
That's another. There's that aspect. If you want to crush a kid's dreams, and if it'd
be real easy to crush his dreams, right? To promote it would be so much better.
Yeah, but if you have a partner, whether it's a husband or a wife or a boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever it is, quick way to crush the way they feel about themselves and their dreams is they come with you with something and you immediately just like shit on it.
Right.
And a lot of people do that.
The problem with that is
exactly
that's what everybody does, right?
Yeah, because and sometimes people are like doing that out of like they just don't want somebody to like actually do something stupid. It's not always malicious and it's not always a manipulation. But if that's your immediate mode, right, to immediately, and I want to also say there's aspects of criticism that are good. Like there's times you need to criticize people, but if that's the consistent thing, right, where somebody comes to you with something and you're just immediately criticizing, immediately shitting on it, that's another way to make somebody feel kind of shitty about themselves. I think I find it cool that a lot of people that I have around, and a lot of people that you guys have around, not everyone's like, I have people that like will criticize certain things that I do, which is great. They're close friends, but we also we give each other tools to become better. Those are my friendships. My friendships are people that we're sending each other videos, we're sending each other books, we're always trying to help each other get better, and we're calling each other out, right? And that you wanna audit those people that are close to you.
And if you're gonna have a criticism, then I think it's a good idea to also, if you're gonna have a criticism, I think you shouldn't go to someone with a criticism without some sort of solution. Like maybe you don't have it all solved or maybe you don't have it all figured out, but like if you're going to point something out to somebody that you don't like that they're doing, or even if somebody comes to you with an idea from a business perspective, for you to immediately point out the problem, like anybody can do that. You can go to just any random person at a coffee shop and you can say, hey, I got this idea, and right away they could shoot it down. Like anyone possesses the ability to do that. If you're going to go that route, if you're going to even be negative at all, then it would be a good idea to have a solution as well. Like, oh, you know what? Have you considered this? Because like this might happen when you try to make that into a business. This could potentially happen. You might want to actually. There's a book about that, or I know this guy who does taxes, or I know this like way that you could do this slightly differently. Trying to give somebody like an alternative, but there's still a lot of encouragement in there.
Along with that, I was actually going to ask you something, Mark. You're very high level income wise and business wise and all that. Now or in the past, do you think that, and you too, Andrew, how is it that you looked at people that were making way more money than you or doing things at a way higher level than you? Do you or have you ever pedestalized them, meaning you've put them up on another level than you? Or I'm just curious about that. How do you look at that? Because there's something here, real quick.
Are you talking about like in the past or now?
Now and in the past, if anything's changed for you.
Oh, dude, a fuck ton has changed. Now it's like kind of like what you preach is like, what can I learn from that person?
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's like whether it's you, Mark, or any of our guests, you know, especially when they're parents, because like I want to be. I feel like if I'm gonna like really make a difference, is like my 2 kids are gonna be fucking amazing people. If I can do that, then I've done my job. So when I look at someone like Todd Abrams from Icon Meals, you know, it's like, dude, how the fuck is this guy so jacked? And he has a like crazy work ethic, and his kids seem fucking awesome. His wife is super happy. Like all these things, right? Like how can I be more like that? Whereas in the past, kind of ashamed to admit it, I would be like super jealous of that person. Be like, this motherfucker's in shape. He's probably on so much gear. Somebody handed him this Icon, you know, company, whatever. But then I would also turn around and be like, I wonder if I could like work with him somehow. You know, like
Probably got an inheritance.
Yeah. But then still be that person to be like, oh shit, maybe I can get some free food from him. You know, like try to still like get something out of him, but not the way I do today. Like get something like very like quick and instant and like tangible that I can get from him right now. Versus now, it's like, fuck, dude, can I just like go hang out with you for a day? And just try to absorb something of what you have. Mm-hmm. That's the way I look at it these days. Because before it was not like that at all. Because I used to think it was like people got lucky. Versus now where it's like, no, dude, he's put a lifetime of hard work into what he does. It didn't just happen overnight.
Yeah.
I don't know. In terms of money, when I was really young, I would be more impressionable about money. Mm-hmm. I remember my wife's boss, he had a pretty good amount of money. And I remember the guy that ran Mass Movement was the company that I worked for, moving around fitness equipment. I remember he had some money, and I admired that, and I thought that was cool. But I kind of looked at it more like a convenience. I was like, if I ever get to that stage, that would be a nice convenience to have. It will just, I think it will make a lot of my life easier, make a lot of the things easier. But like, I already had some stuff intact. Like I had habits with working out. I had habits with eating properly. And I had a lot of that going on. So I don't know. I don't think I really put people up on a pedestal for making money, and never, I cared about it enough to make it happen, because I always felt that I always felt like it will just lead to a better life. And that's what I always felt. And that's what I still believe. Like more money, I think,
absolutely.
I think it can solve, you know, people say that money doesn't solve anything, but like it can. Like money can literally solve like world hunger. I mean, it could solve all kinds of crazy things. It can make people more aware of acts that go on that aren't, you know, that are wrong, or however you want to say. I mean, it can just do a lot of things. So I never really put people up on a pedestal necessarily that made money, but I did admire when somebody had their shit together, and when somebody had, when they appeared to have an alignment of things lined up in terms of their habits.
Yeah, no, that's one thing I really dig, because I mean, when it comes to money, like people look at people that are wealthy or have money. That does give you a level of status, but someone can still be an asshole and just be a rich asshole.
And I never had that perspective, which might just be because I'm fucking white.
What do you mean? But what do you mean? What perspective?
I've never had the perspective of rich people are in some other category and that they're assholes. I never had that.
Oh, that? Okay. Yeah. What
That's
I was
never been in my, like,
yeah.
I mean, I know people are like, people that drive a BMW, like, I just never cared about any of that stuff.
Yeah, no,
never thought about it.
Some people do have the outlook that rich people are assholes. What I was saying though was like, having money doesn't make somebody, like if you're an asshole, but now you just make some money, you're just a rich asshole. That's what I meant by that. But yeah, there is that divide where some people think wealthy people they're just not inherently good. But what I was trying to think about was like, you know, we all have people that we admire for doing things, whether it be like The Rock or whether it be different people who've done a lot of different things in business, or Jordan Peterson, for example, with like all he's done for people, men, women, you know what I mean? But what happens is like when you do that, or when you have a level of admiration for somebody, there's a tendency to also like put that person on a pedestal, like they're different from you. And I guess it's good to understand that if somebody has different traits from you or different habits from you, but those habits are things that you can do yourself. What I'm thinking about is just how can you shorten the divide you place between yourself and somebody else that you admire, right? Because they're a human being. They have two hands, they have a phone, they have all these things that have allowed them to, number one, learn cool things, and number one, do cool things to get to where they are. So they're actually not that different from you. Like they're not. What they're doing, you know, if you don't put them up as like something greater than you, and you bring them to the place of also being a human being like yourself, then you open yourself up to the mindset of, well, they are richer than me, and they're doing a lot more than me, but they're still human, and there's somehow that they did this, that I can do the same shit, and I can do potentially things at a better level than they are if I put in the work to do it. That's kind of the way that over time that I've thought of things, because there was a time when I'd see people, I'd be like, oh damn, they like, wow, they had all these advantages, blah, blah, blah. But that then puts a limit on what I look at myself being able to do, because inherently they're just a different type of human. There's no way I can do what the hell they're doing. But if you can just, if we can help ourselves understand that everybody is still fucking human and they are no better, they might be doing some cooler shit because they've put in some more time. They've learned something really well, but you have the ability to learn it. That in and of itself can give you the confidence to know that I can do that.
I think the harder thing sometimes would just be like the more narrow you get with a specific thing, sometimes the harder it might be to try to match what someone's doing. So physically, there can be massive differences between us.
This is true.
You know, there's me, and then there's like Shaquille O'Neal, right? Like there's some real monsters out there of people that have different configured bodies and different capabilities. And I still don't think you should put any limiting beliefs on anything that you're trying to do. But it just is interesting when you start to get into like the physicality of something. But you're 100% right. Like if we're talking about like life, and we're talking about this kind of like this race of life, or like winning life, or you know, if you're trying to, if you think that, you know, what I said is like, I think that money can make things more convenient for you, and I think it can solve some problems. But if you're looking for money to solve like mental health issues or something like that, that doesn't work. Like if you're bipolar, or you have real crazy ups and not crazy, I'm sorry, I apologize. If you have, you know, highs and lows that are just different than other people, money's not going to necessarily solve that. You know, if what's going to solve that is for you to read a book. What's going to solve that is for you to have experiences that put you through the paces, and for you to learn and to maybe start to recognize like, oh, having a balanced mind and going through this, I can traverse this, these obstacles without really getting super sad, or without really getting super mad. In the documentary on Netflix about psychedelics, one of the guys was talking about how he took mushrooms, and he's like, I experienced sadness without being sad. And I thought that was really interesting, but I was like, I've had similar experiences, but it wasn't on mushrooms. Like I've gone through what this guy is talking about. I don't know if everyone possesses that ability, but I think we all do. It's like you have to kind of walk yourself through these scenarios. In my life, I've had things that have happened. I've had family members die. I've had friends die. I've had all kinds of unexpected things happen. And those things have kind of like trained me to be able to go through those things and to recognize that being exponentially more emotional about it wasn't necessarily of benefit. You could still grieve and do things particular ways, but I didn't have to like associate anything really particularly strongly to just because someone dies doesn't mean that it has to be sad. Like my mom's death, if there's anything sad about it, it's more like, when I think about it, it's like, how do we prevent someone getting into that position in the first place? She was abused when she was young. It was really hard for her to get out of the shadow of her own life. And that is the tragic part. Her dying is a byproduct of the fact that she had such a tough time getting herself moving and getting herself to be on any particular diet regimen for long enough to, yield better results for her health and stuff like that. And there's millions of people that end up kind of going down that road.
Yeah.
But in talking about like these insecurities and stuff, it's a really interesting thing because my mom like couldn't be any more insecure, but she had enough like in her to help instill into her children less insecurities. Like she helped make us confident. And I think my oldest brother had some insecurities. I think Chris has some insecurities. And I think I have potentially, maybe I have tons of them. I don't know. I think potentially I have the least amount of them. And I think that's because my parents had an opportunity to parent Mike. He conditioned them and taught them how to be a parent. And he made them better and he challenged the fuck out of them. Chris did a little bit of that. And then it wasn't because I was a good kid. They already knew how to handle kids better by the time they got to me because they had X amount of years of being parents. And so it was easier. And then the whole family was around kids more. So then it made everything easier for everybody in like learning how to manage kids, how to deal with kids and all that kind of stuff. So, that's some of my things when I think about like insecurity. I think about there's so many people that are hurting, and the insecurities I think they can often come from traumas.
Yeah.
And if you have trauma, just like we've talked about with the myofascial stuff, if you don't work that shit that's sitting in your shoulder from you messing up or you taking a real heavy bench press one day, if you don't work that shit out and you don't use a lacrosse ball in there, you can stretch and you can do all these things and it most likely won't really get better. That'll be sitting there forever. If you have these traumas from when you're young and you never dealt with them before, every time you go out, every time you go to a party, you're going to be like, I need a drink because I have social anxiety. You might not have social anxiety. You might have traumas from when you're young that you just never fucking talked about.
That show on HBO, Couples Therapy, was real good. It was this therapist and she was dealing with different couples, but she was really delving into a lot of their issues. And there was a few of them that when she got to the root of like what was causing someone issues, it's just like, fuck, I didn't realize how that happened when I was 12 years old. I actually was playing a part in the way I treat other people or the person
people
that I'm
probably
with.
Start bawling, right?
Oh, fuck. It's a good show. I watched it with my girl. I was like, God, I think an interesting thing about that show is like the questions.
Some people think that shit's really weird, but I think it's.
What do you mean?
I think it's helpful to examine that stuff. I think some people think that kind of stuff's like kind of woo-woo,
Nah, dog. I mean, yeah, I get. Yeah,
it's not at the base of everything. We should point that out as well. But it can be at the base for a lot of things for a lot of people, I think.
Absolutely. No, it can be. We can't act like, certain things, even maybe the way that you dealt with your parents or whatever as when you were a kid, because there are all good things about how we were raised and there are potentially bad things about how we were raised. And we can't think that the bad aspects don't show itself in some roundabout way in terms of the way that we go through life as adults, because, I think we have a tendency of thinking, oh, we got everything handled and figured out. We don't. We don't.
Got shit figured out.
Ain't got shit figured out. And if you look at other people that they also don't have shit figured out, it's gonna be easier to deal with them, especially women.
I spend the most amount of my time nowadays just trying to reserve judgment. That's where I'm hanging out because I'm like, okay, why the fuck are you even judging this person? What are you doing? Like, who are you? Who the fuck are you to like judge anybody on anything? Yeah, stop. Just fucking stop. Don't say anything or don't overthink it. It's a tough thing because like you live your life particular ways, and then we get all hyped up, of course, about like fitness and our diets and these things, and so we therefore think that we got to grab a hold of everybody. Bert Kreischer's got to do this fucking diet. Everyone's got to do this style of eating. Everyone's got to do this style of lifting. We're going to change the world. And it's like, well, I don't know if people are fucking having a good time. As long as people aren't, if you're complaining, then we might have some stuff that may be able to help you. Maybe the three of us have come up with a couple things that might be able to help you.
Yeah.
Because we've seen it help other people, right? So we have at least some evidence that some of these things can kind of pull you out of some of those situations. But to try to just judge it and just to try to push it out, ideas and beliefs on everybody it's where you get into, I think, spending overexpending energy on shit that you probably shouldn't be.
Mm-hmm. It's I think everybody, we all want to find some universal truth for something. And it's tough because especially with health, everybody can go through life the way they want to. If you want to drink all the time and you're happy, and even though certain things are being, even though certain aspects of your health are being compromised, if that's what you want to do, that's what you want to do.
There could be other aspects where you're checking the box, like you could be, okay, social, you're community based, like there could be, so like, are there people that do both? Are there people that incorporate having a good time, partying, being loyal to their family, being loyal to the business that they work at? And are there people that, they fucking, and it's interesting because those people that really balance it, that do the best, those people usually aren't famous. They're usually not people that are going to get, the people that are famous are really like off balance a lot of times. Yeah. I'm going to sink everything I got into fucking basketball, like Kobe or Michael, I'm going to sink everything I got, Michael Jackson. I'm going to sink everything I got into music, his whole entire life from the time he's like a little kid, There's so many different like versions of this in our culture, in our society.
Did you see the Andrew Schultz special?
I haven't seen it
Infamous? Yo, y'all go buy that fucking special. I think it's still for sale.
It's on Netflix, right?
It's not on Netflix.
Oh.
No. He
what happened?
Or he like bought it from Netflix or something, didn't he?
He bought it. I don't know what service he purchased his special back from, but he purchased his special and he put it out on his website. It's a fucking good special. It's like, I was telling my girl this yesterday. When I like a comedian as like, because I listen to their podcast, Flagrant, right? And they're funny on their podcast. But since I already dig the dude and like the podcast, I want like in my back of my head, I'm like, okay, be a little critical. Don't laugh at everything. If it's funny, it's funny. Mm-hmm. But I was like, in my mind, I was like, okay, is this funny? And I couldn't stop laughing, bro. Like I've seen him live too, but I literally couldn't stop laughing during the special the whole fucking time. I was like, God damn, it was dark. Really. And I bring this up because you mentioned Michael Jackson. Dog, I'm not even gonna butcher any of the joke, but he has this thing on Michael Jackson in there where you're just like, shit. It's dark. So yeah, y'all got to check out that special.
But those are our most famous people. The people that really toe that line of like, I don't know what the fuck Michael Jackson didn't do. I don't know anything about. I don't know how they get about the situation.
I need to watch the documentary.
Yeah, I've seen that before. I've seen it. I've seen some of the documentary and know like, I don't know, the peripheral of like what a lot of other people know. But I think that a lot of those people are people that are. The people that are famous here in the United States, a lot of times there's a lot of stuff surrounding them. And I think that Michael Jackson's thing might have been more public. Maybe Michael Jordan's stuff is like, maybe there's, maybe not as much of it circulates, and like, I don't know. There's a lot, right? There's a lot that goes with, I think people being celebrities. I remember Mike Tyson talking about, his rise to fame, and he actually asked Cus D'Amato at one point, because Cus was like kind of literally like brainwashing him and just having him have really, really strong beliefs and convictions that he was going to be champ. He said it from like the first day that he met him, and he kept telling him, you're going to be champ one day, you're going to be champ one day. Other people around them like didn't really know why he said that all the time, but it's like really pretty obvious. When you watch Mike Tyson punch a punching bag, it's like
it's disgusting.
It's insane. Like I've never seen anybody I've seen people punch a punching bag, but he's in like a fight with it. You're like, you kind of feel bad for the punching bag. You're like, this guy's like just completely demolishing this thing. But Anyway, Tyson asked him one time, he's like, well, what happens when I am champ? And Customato was like, what do you mean? He's like, well, what happens when I'm famous and I'm, what if I do become the youngest heavyweight champion of all time? He's like, no one can teach you about that.
Mm.
And I think that's the thing about like celebrity status. Like as you climb that ladder, like no one can prepare you for that. Like, what's that like? What's it like to turn into Joe Rogan? What's it like to, be The Rock? What's it like to be The Rock? Who else? Who can inform The Rock on what it's like to be The Rock? Madonna? Oprah? Like, I don't know.
Oh, Jesus. My God. We're watching Mike Tyson punch a punching bag, and it's just it's a bit ridiculous. But I want to give y'all a tool that I used when I was younger. I think for whatever you were trying to do as a man or a woman, it helps to be able to map things out for some people. For some people, it helps them to just do shit. But the Jordan Peterson has this thing called the self-authoring, and I've talked about it on the podcast. I've mentioned it before, but I think it's worth re-mentioning because it's called self-authoring. I think you can go to self-authoring.com. It's a cheap purchase, but it takes you through
you said it's kind of hard.
It's hard. Yeah, it's a lot of analysis of yourself, what you're trying to do, your flaws. There's a past authoring, future, and present. And the reason why it's called self-authoring is because you spend a lot of time writing and thinking about different aspects of like who you are right now, who you were in the past, and then who the person you want to become in the future. And some people don't need this shit. Some people, they're just doing their thing, they're good. But I found it very beneficial because it takes hours to do. For me, it took me, I think, maybe 20 hours to go through the whole type of program. But you will do a deep dive on your flaws currently and the things that you're pretty good at, the things that you want to get better at, how you want your life to be, who you want around you in your future. Like you go very deep. It's like you're literally doing therapy on yourself. I have a friend of mine and even myself, like when he was going through the past authoring, when he was writing certain things down, he cried a few times. Same with me, because you really think of a lot of shit and you're therapizing yourself. And I think it takes time and it's hard. And that's one of the deterrents. But if you can go through that, then you're pretty much setting a roadmap up for yourself of where you'd like to be and how you're going to get there. And I think that's one thing.
So you end up with some actionable stuff when you walk away from there.
You end up
because you went through the past, you're going through the present, and then you're thinking about your what is that word? Like actualizing, right?
Yeah.
Like you're actualizing like what's actually going to happen in the future
and how you're going to do it, because you can map these things out. And for me, things were pretty accurate for me when I think I did it like 5 or 6 years ago. And when I went back and looked at it like a year and a half ago, I looked at it and I'm like, God damn, like a lot of this stuff actualized. And I'm in the process of a lot of those things, and I haven't looked at it in a long time.
I mean, if you were just to write something down, like let's just say that you wrote it down on a piece of paper, you just wrote down $500,000 and you looked at it every day. And then you had some actionable things that actually were assisting you to head towards being able to make that kind of money in a year. You would be able to, I don't know if you'd get there to that exact amount, but fuck, you'll probably make more money than you're currently making now. If you thought about it every day, you look at it, you're like, oh yeah, fucking $500,000. You look at it at night and you go, oh fuck, it's 12. I should have been in bed already. And then you start to like, what are the disciplines that would surround that $500,000? Or you want to be 10% body fat. And you write that 9% body fat. You write that down, you fucking circle it. You look at it every day. And then you're like thinking about like what you just ate today. And you're like 9%. I'm like, I didn't act like I want that 9%. I didn't act like I wanted that $500,000. Again, it doesn't mean that that's going to actually happen, but it can. I have a lot of shit that I wrote down a long time ago is happening right now.
You'd probably, whether you got to 500,000 or not, you would probably get to the end of whatever, like the time frame that you put on it, and be like, "Fuck, I should have put 1 million."
Yeah, right.
Because I have been doing that way too much. Like I haven't been giving myself enough of
Like a big enough dream.
yes. Yeah. It's always been like, oh, that's actually fairly obtainable. Let me do that. And now I'm just like, nope, we gotta double everything that I set out to do easily.
Inflation.
That too.
Inflation. Yeah. But no, it's real, man. When you set something up for yourself or set up a goal, like you will start the things that you pay attention to. The things that you pay attention to every day, that's where you're going to orient your actions, right? So if you're paying attention to a lot of things on your feed, your actions are going to be based off of the things on your feed. But if you pay attention to the things you really are trying to be able to learn, achieve, do, all your actions are going to be oriented around that one single or multiple focuses. And if there's anything that's, I mean, even myself, like if there's anything that gets fucked up nowadays, it's attention.
What do you mean?
Well, I mean, social media age. It's very easy to get trapped in on your feeds, to get trapped in on like,
I don't know what you're talking about.
Media. Yeah, you don't know what I'm talking about. No. You don't even have that downloaded on your phone. No. But it's a very easy thing. And if there's a skill that you want to be able to have.
Why are you mentioning zooming in? I'm not zooming in on anything. What do I zoom in on?
Everybody likes a good man butt.
Zoom in, screen capture?
Woman butt. My bad, woman butt. That was a slip.
Double zoom. Huh? Triple zoom. Screen capture.
What?
Huh?
I don't know what you're talking about, bro.
You guys are disgusting.
Screen record?
You're the nasty one.
You guys are really filthy.
You're the one who talked about zooming in. You're the one with the porn stash. Who the fuck are you talking?
Not yet. No,
it's not a porn stash.
What about when Ryan Fisher was on the show and I like commented on his mustache? He's like, "Do I have a mustache?"
It reminded me of
that was great.
He had a little mustache.
It was hilarious when he said talked about the women at the grocery store. He's like. I said, yeah, it's really pervy to have a mustache. And he goes, yeah, and the women are down with it.
Yeah.
I was like, that's fucking funny.
It's unique.
That's funny.
Yeah.
It reminded me of that spoof movie where I think it was a Robin Hood spoof movie where the king didn't know he had a mole. He's like, what? I have a mole?
That might be Austin Powers, right?
No.
Moly.
No, that's
guacamole.
Fuck me. Fuck you.
Oh, yeah.
Robin Hood Men in Tights.
I didn't see it.
It's an old terrible
I remember
movie.
that. I remember that movie.
Yeah, the king has a mole and it moves. And so this whole time he didn't know he had a mole. So just like Ryan, he was like, what? I have a mustache?
He did have a mustache,
He
right?
did have a mustache. It's just like it was
kind of had a beard that went into it too, but it was like more mustachy. It didn't connect a lot. That's what it was.
Yeah, lack of connection. But he still rocked it pretty well. Still rocked it pretty well.
Yeah.
Take us on out of here, Andrew.
Alrighty. Thank you, everybody, for checking out today's episode. Please drop us some comments down below. We want to hear what you guys have to say about our conversation, and we would sincerely appreciate that.
And we don't have insecurities.
No. That's why we're able to convey our message.
Pussies?
Yeah, right?
Only pussies have insecurity.
Oh, gosh. Don't believe everything you hear, though. Please like today's episode and subscribe if you guys are not subscribed. And please follow the podcast at MB Power Project on Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter. My Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter is at I am Andrew Z. Nsima, where are you at?
Just do what we do. Bottle in all your feelings. Keep it close. Don't share it with anybody.
Don't do that.
Don't share it with anybody.
I did that for like 30 years.
Yeah, no, exactly. It works. It works. Look where you are right now. It works. Just like keep it all in. Don't share it with anybody, and you're good to go. Follow the Discord. All I said was bullshit right there, by the way.
Except for the Discord part.
You should follow the Discord.
Cry in private. Cry yourself to sleep. Work on that.
It's tough not to cry when doing breath work because wherever the fuck I go, it shows me some shit, and I'm just like, oh shit, here we go. Hopefully nobody walks in.
Yeah, check out the Discord, guys. Lots of cool people in there doing cool shit. At Nsima Inyang on Instagram and YouTube, at Nsima Inyang on TikTok and Twitter. Mark.
I'm at Mark Smelly Bell. Strength is never weakness. Weakness never strength. Catch you guys later. Bye.